Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pageant Sit Down. It's so great to have you all with us today. I'm your host, Regina Lena, and I am super excited to have you on. I'm really excited to have our guest back on, and I'm really excited to have my co-host here with me today. First off, before we bring on our guest, let's welcome back Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Regine. How is it going?
It's going. How are you?
It's going well over here too. A little busy with all pageant things, but it is going well. I'm excited to have a little chit chat tonight with one of our guests we've already had, but I can't wait to catch up with her and see what she's been up to now.
Me too. I know she's on this new journey with a new title, and now that we are out of the pandemic, it looks like she's doing a lot of amazing things. Should we bring her in?
Absolutely. Everyone, please welcome Brandi Jo Middleton, your Mrs. Magnolia State 2023.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Brandi Jo, and I am the reigning Mrs. Magnolia State 2023.
Awesome.
Welcome. I'm
Welcome.
so
Welcome
excited.
back.
Yes, I'm so excited to be back with you all.
We're s-
Mhm.
we're really excited to have you on here, and I know you did a really quick intro of yourself. I know Elizabeth and I both know you very well based off of your last conversation with us, but I'm sure there are some new viewers to our show who might not know who you are. So would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I am a wife, a homeschool mom. I have been in the pageant industry over 40 years. I hold over, I think the last count was almost close to 2,000 titles. And some of my big titles were I'm a former International United Miss 2021, 2022. I just crowned this past summer. I was the reigning America's Elegant Miss. That was another national title I had. And I just love the industry so much. I'm also, I used to be a glitz pageant coach and coached in the USA America circuit from 2009 to 2017. Took a break from coaching to get back into pageantry for myself. And I just opened up my own pageant studio and got back into coaching full time. As soon as I crowned my successor, Sarah, for International United Miss, I opened up my studio and I'm back coaching full time now. I coach for all systems. I've been a busy bee since I opened up my studio in September, and I'm coaching for every system now, including International United Miss. And I decided to get back and to compete myself, and I competed for the title of Mrs. Magnolia State in November. And I was up against some amazing women, and I had so much fun and captured the title, and I've been working with my title this past year.
That's awesome. Well, first off, congratulations on everything, all the success. I mean, your studio looks great. It's so amazing when you have your own space to do your own things. And congratulations on the new title. That's super
Thank you.
exciting.
Thank you. It's so exciting. Yes, I'm excited, and I'm so excited to be pouring all my love and knowledge into all of my students from around the world. I coach all ages, from babies all the way up to have women in their 70s that are
Ooh,
competing. And so it's been so much fun to be able to get back coaching full time.
that's
Mhm.
awesome. Okay, wait, did you say you have over 2,000
Titles.
type? I was
Hmm.
gonna say, can you name all of them?
I
That's a
cannot,
lot.
but I've been competing since the age of 4. So my mom kept a log of everything, and then when I got back into competing them as an adult and as a married woman, I started documenting them too. So I found my old journal that she had created for me for every title that I had competed and won. I saw that the other day, and I was like, wow, because I kind of lost count too. But it's close to 2,000 titles.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. So you have a lot of experience to share with all of your girls, I'm sure. You mentioned that you coach for IUM, International United
Mhm.
Miss. And I had the pleasure of meeting you briefly at IUM. I know you were very, very busy that week, but you just had such a fantastic reign. Can you tell us a little bit about why you were so involved with that and why it was such an impactful system for you?
Yes, that was truly an experience of a lifetime. That was the best year of my life last year. I did tragically lose my mom in the middle of my reign last year, and that was really hard. But my whole IUM family stepped in and supported me at the very end. That year was a dream. The sisterhood, the bonds that I created, all the memories. I traveled over 24,000 miles last year with my title, and I gave it 110% every day. That was pretty much my full-time job, was promoting IUM. Loved it. I cried that whole week. I remember meeting you. I cried literally the whole week because none of us wanted to give up our titles and pass on our crowns. And I was going to be a director for them for the state, but I decided I'd rather coach for IUM and bring in more girls to the system and get them to the level that I know that they needed to be at to compete at the international level. So that's been a lot of fun this year. And I will be there all of the week at internationals. I'll be coaching all week and supporting my students that are competing there, as well as seeing my family. The best part about International United Miss, no matter if you're a state queen, a regional queen, a national level queen, or international level queen, you're always part of their family. And we'll have an alumni gathering too that week at internationals this summer.
That's so
That's
fun.
awesome. And I guess moving on to like what you're doing now, can you tell us about the Mrs. Magnolia State pageant and how you got
Yes.
involved with that?
Yeah, so the Magnolia State pageant's been around for 25 years. It's a huge deal in Mississippi. Even though I live in Tennessee, my husband works in Mississippi, and all of my family is Mississippi. So that is how I was allowed to compete for the title. It is something that I wanted to compete in forever. I have known the director, Chris Shannon, for years, and I've always done his fun pageants. But something has come up every time that the state pageant has happened. So this was my year to be able to compete for the title, and I was so excited to go to Vicksburg, Mississippi and compete for the weekend. And it is evening gown, casual wear, private interview, and on-stage questions. So I had to get those nerves back in control and do an on-stage question, and it was a lot of fun. I was so honored and so shocked to be able to win. I went in expecting it, because coming off from being an international title holder, there's a lot of pressure on you. A lot of pressure from the public. Can you do this again? Like, I had a lot of pressure on me. Plus I had students competing, not in my division. I don't ever compete against students that are my age, like we have an agreement. But I had younger girls that I was there to support too, that I had been coaching for Magnolia. And so I wanted just to do a good job and to prove to myself that I could get out on that stage and do it again. And God willing, what's meant for you will never pass you by. And that was all God's timing in that. And I love Chris Shannon. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary. This will be the 20th anniversary of Mrs. Magnolia State.
Wow.
He has all ages, from babies all the way up to married women. It's a big deal in the married women down in Mississippi. Like, it's a big deal. And then in November, it's the junior miss, the teen, the miss, and then my division that compete. And then in September, it's the younger divisions that compete.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And can we just give a moment to your crown? I'm going to put it just on you for a second.
Yes. He does such a great job at all his crowns, and he puts on a lot of fun pageants too throughout the year. For people, and he always he's known for his crowns, and he's also taken us to Europe. So us 4 sister queens, we are going to Europe in June. So we're real excited about that's part of the prize package.
Nice.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is so good. Where in Europe are you going?
Amsterdam, where it's like a tour. Amsterdam, we get to go to Paris. Norway. I have to look. Like, he has it all mapped out for us, so he just made it really easy. We just go through the travel agent that he connected us with, and we're all going together.
That's
so fun. It's another experience of like bonding and sisterhood, and I think that's such a great thing, especially since you coach so many different ages. Like, I feel like you just are able to connect with a bunch of different people like that. And you mentioned that coaching younger students is kind of more what you started with blitz, I guess. So now that you're coaching more all ages, what are kind of some of the differences you see with title holders and advice for maybe older contestants?
Really, my whole platform and what I've evolved in is my platform is called Crowning Confidence, and I've done that for years. What I've noticed, no matter what age, from babies all the way up to women in their 70s, it's the confidence, it's the mindset, it's getting these girls, and I also coach boys, but these competitors into the right frame of mind to have that winning mindset going in. And also after they win, knowing how to reign. So many title holders do not know how to reign. And that's something that I teach in my classes too, is what to do after your reign, how to show up big, how to make appearances, how to get sponsorships, how to work social media, how to put yourself out there to leave a lasting legacy that you want directors coming to you and saying, oh my gosh, like you have to compete in my pageant when your reign is up. That's what I want for my title holders and my students.
That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I think actually I was talking to one of my friends from my pageant sisters, and she was talking about the post pageant blues, where when you leave a job you have like an offboarding or
Mhm.
an offboarding discussion with them, and you kind of go through the feels. It's the same thing with your reign.
Mhm.
So do you help your students go through that as well? Because it's a lot. No one talks
It is a
about it.
lot. I've been through it myself. I've been through, what it feels like to be first runner up. I've been through all of the things where you don't even place at a
Hmm.
pageant. I've been through all those feels. So I'm constantly checking on my students, even at the small little fun pageants. I'm constantly checking up on them after the pageant to see how they are. But especially giving up your title, I've been through it myself. I literally laid in bed for 3 weeks after I gave up my title from international, because you're thinking, what am I going to do now? Am I ever going to be a title holder again? Will God ever give me that opportunity? And it's a lot of emotions that you go through, and it's like, who are you after that title? Because everybody knows you as a certain person.
Hmm.
So I do help all of my students go through that process, and also help align them up to other systems that they want to become a part of as well.
That's amazing. I wish I spoke to you after my reign was over, because I was just like you, where I'm like, who am I and what? Like, it's true. Like, I
Mhm.
had because I did the Galaxy system, and I was there through the pandemic. And so my reign was extended year after year after year. And then all of a sudden, now you're just Regina Lena.
I know. It's like, who am I?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's great that you were able to find a new system and get involved with that. I personally don't know tons about the Magnolia State pageant. Can you tell us what categories are involved, or how, like, what do you do to win this title?
Yeah, and actually, we got voted one of the best. It was one of the best state pageants, I believe, or one of the. I think Chris won something this year with Pageant Planet. I have to go back and look, but he was in the top for one of the best pageant systems. What they want for Magnolia State is they want total package. They want a well-rounded individual that's going to promote the organization just like any other system. But the categories that you compete in for junior miss and up are beauty. You come on stage in your evening gown, which down here in the South, a lot of times we call it beauty, but it's evening gown. So you have evening gown competition. Then you have casual wear competition. And then you have your private interview, which is round robin with 3 judges for 3 minutes. And then you recompete. So they pull the top 15. The top 15 will recompete at finals, and you recompete again. You do evening gown, you do casual wear. From the top 15, they narrow it down to the top 5. The top 5 then have an on-stage question, which is 2 questions that you have an on-stage question, and then they re-rank, and then that's how they pick for your winner and your placements.
Oh, wow.
Mm. Re-ranking always makes me very nervous. I know
Yeah.
it does to some other people. It feels like I've done all this work and now I got to do it again. What advice, like mentally, do you have for people that are maybe nervous about going to a pageant that does have this re-ranking system?
Yeah, so it was different for me because the International United Miss, we didn't have the re-ranking. So I had to
Mhm.
mentally prepare myself. And so my biggest advice is you have to stay mentally strong.
Mm.
Pageantry really is about that level that you are competing at. You have to block out everything and focus on you. You can't be worried about what your competition is doing or what somebody else is doing or saying. You have to stay mentally strong and set little goals for yourself and say, okay, I'm fixing to go and do the best I've ever done in my beauty walk. I'm fixing to go and do the best I've ever done in my casual wear. I'm fixing to answer from my heart and let these judges see my passion inside of me. When you can set your mind on that and focus on little things, that's when the beauty happens and that's when the magic happens. And so you have to just show up and give it your best. And that's always my biggest thing, is just stay mentally strong and learn how to put yourself first in a situation like that. So many women worry about little things that doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters is how you show up, not what your competition is doing, because you are your biggest competition.
It's very true.
Yeah. I was wondering, you've been obviously in pageants for a very long time. You have a lot of experience. Who would you say is your pageant inspiration, or do you have a person that comes to mind?
Oh, that's so awesome. Oh my goodness, I cannot for the life of I want to say, what was her yes, I cannot think of her new life. She got married. And I want to say her name was Heather Whitestone back in the day. I was in high school and she was deaf. She won Miss America. And her talent touched me so deeply. So she did ballet to a beautiful Christian song, and I will never forget her. I was watching it with my mom. She came out on stage and she held her arms up at the very end to symbolize the cross, and her talent blew me away. And I was thinking, how she was deaf, and I'm like, how can she perform that way and not hear the music? And she was one of the most amazing Miss Americas that have ever inspired me, and I hope to meet her one day. I still follow her on Facebook, and I can't for the life of me think of her married name, but that was back in the 90s, if that tells you how old I am. But she was one of my favorite title holders. And of course, I love our new Miss Universe. I just love her fashion sense. I love the obstacle. Like, she proved to everybody look what all she overcame and all that she had to go through to get to Miss Universe, and how, like, that was her moment. And that was so amazing to watch that. And that happened for her.
I agree. Liz and I have been following Arbany for so long, and to finally see her place, that was, I think, a very smart move for her, actually. I don't know if you know this. Her gown was not supposed to have the blue stones, but until they released the new Miss Universe crown, she went to the designer and asked them to add the blue stones to match the crown. I'm like, that is genius.
Yes, that is awesome. I didn't know that. That was awesome.
Yeah, she thought everything through. Who would have thought to be like, I'm gonna wait until they show us the new crown and then make last minute change. I'd be so stressed.
I know, me too. My goodness.
Yeah, I think it was great. Honestly, like, seeing like, the US has obviously been a powerhouse country in pageants just overall everywhere, but it's been a minute since we've seen them take one of the really, really big international titles. So it was very exciting because obviously we're neighbors to the US, so it feels a little closer to home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. I think there's so many bigger pageant opportunities in the United States just because of the amount of pageants. Do you feel like you've been able to experience all different kinds of pageantry? Because in the US, they have glitz, and you have the Miss America systems and the Miss USA, different varieties of pageants that maybe other countries don't have. Do you have like a favorite style of pageant that you've been able to experience?
Yes, I've actually experienced all different types of pageantry now, and then I've coached for all different types of pageantry. So to be able to, because I coach from a judge's point, a director's point, and a contestant's point that's been in the glitz, semi-glitz, natural scholarship. I've done it all, USA, America, all the systems. My favorite truly is scholarship. And I didn't ever set out to be a pageant coach because, you hone your skill. I honed my skill. I was known for my modeling growing up. Like, people knew me for my modeling. And so when I had a mom reach out to me in 2009, it's like, you have to coach my daughter. It's like, I really don't want to give up I don't want to teach you what I'm doing. But I did. And that's what set my career in motion. So I love that I can intertwine all my years and techniques in the glitz world, but I bring that into the scholarship world and align it to what scholarship systems want, but my girls stand out with how they stand out in the interview room. They stand out on stage. They have a special little gift that I give them, a difference that makes them shine from within. So I've merged all of my years of experience in all the different types of pageantry, but I can say without a shadow of the doubt, scholarship systems are my favorite. Any pageant that has an interview is my absolutely favorite to coach for and to be a part of and to compete myself in. I love the interview. That's my favorite. And I think that's something that I used to be so afraid of as a child growing up, was I don't want to talk in front of people, and pageantry helped me break out of my shell and be able to master that skill.
That's awesome. I know you've been talking a lot about coaching, and not everyone can be a coach. So, how did you go from competing in 2,000 different systems to knowing that you wanted to coach and become a coach?
Well, like I said, I never set out to be a coach, but when I had a mom, she actually judged me. She judged me at a pageant. She's like, "You have to teach my daughter," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know about this." When I saw, well, I went to college to be a school teacher for a little.
Oh.
I've always loved children, but I could not pass. I could not pass because of the math, so I ended up going to beauty school. But even with beauty school, when I became a licensed esthetician and worked at a spa, they always had me train people. I always was teaching, was training, and so I knew I had a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started coaching her daughter, Lauren, which we were on Toddlers and Tiaras together, Lauren Stubb, she's now in college, but when I saw that I was able to get her to winning to the top level, I thought, well, maybe I do have a gift here of teaching. So it's kind of like, I know this is all God's plan for my life, and I do have ways that I teach young children how to capture their attention, and I bring fun to it, even with adults, because some adults don't want to practice or it gets mundane, do an interview. But I have a gift, and I love that God has allowed me to share my gift and my passion for pageantry and share that with others. And I'm so blessed. And when somebody's looking for a coach, I always tell them, make sure, like, feel their personality out. Are they going to match well with your child? Are they going to put you at the top? Like, are they going to have your best interests at heart and not crush your spirit? I've had other coaches crush my spirit. I've had other coaches take my hard work, take my platform, take my answers, give that to my competition. You have to know, you have to do some research. So do research on people, see where they are. How many titles do they have? What is their background? Have they produced winners? You have to look at all of that when you factor into that. Have I turned down people that I feel like that have not meshed with me? Yes, I've done that before too. But I always want people to do research, and I always tell people, you can Google me, like you can Google to see what I say I'm going to do, and I back it up. And my girls, and I always want my students out there representing what I stand for and my morals too. And that's why I love, it's kind of like God always brings me the right people. I feel like in my business, and my girls, I'm just so proud of my girls and my boys. I have a couple of boys I coach too, and my women, and I've senior women that compete as well.
So wait, how do you coach boys? Because I know it's a whole other
It's a
walk.
whole different world. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I coach boys back in the day in the glitz world. I coached boys then. Also, I'm a boy mom, so I know how little boys' minds operate. And so, but for boys, they do a beauty walk, but it's not like what girls do, and you can't make it girly. It has to be more, it's more of a runway style. One of my little boys that I coach, he now is doing runway modeling, and I've trained him for that, and he's done auditions, and he's done amazing. Another little girl that I coached when she was little in the glitz world, she's now doing Netflix movies, and it's really cool to see some of what I've taught. They have now taken some of that and put it into other things in the world when they decided to get out of pageantry and go on to other things, which is really cool.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It's really interesting because you get to see the whole process of them, like, going through the different ways of life, like from little kids all the way to whatever career they want to do. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, one of my interview students from a few years, she was on Farmer Needs a Wife, that reality show that's out right now. Her name's Emma.
Okay.
And
Nice.
Emma made it like, I was like, Emma, like, are you, like, to know Emma, and Emma's from California, so my crown doesn't want to stay today, but Emma, She got chosen for the show, but I think which the farmer eliminated her the first night. I was like, big mistake. He made a huge mistake because she's an amazing powerhouse. And I think she's fixing to compete again at the USA system. But it's just really cool to see how pageantry is now changing over and how girls can merge into other things in their lives that they want to do.
It's even interesting to see people like within the pageant world. There's so many sub industries inside of it, whether you want to be director, coach, hair and makeup artist. There's a million different things now. What advice do you have for someone who is a contestant and is looking to move into more of the business aspect of pageants?
Definitely, you have to develop a backbone. Honestly, you have to you have to develop a backbone and a thick skin, and just really map out a whole business plan and where do you see yourself, and how you can take your platform too. Like if you have a good platform, can you merge your platform over in the pageant industry and work with that as well too?
That's awesome. Sorry, I forgot where I was in my screen. That's amazing. I love all the tips and the tricks that you've shared and the advice that you've shared with all of our viewers. And I know the last time you were on, it was 5 tips from a beauty queen, which is our segment. But instead, I'd like to take it from a coach's perspective. So as a pageant coach, what would your top pageant tips be for all of them?
My first pageant tip is do your research on what system that you want to compete in. Not all systems are going to be for you. And so number one, do your research. Make sure that their morals, their mission statement aligns with who you are. Number two is you have to prepare and prepare early. Don't wait till the last minute, because if you wait till the last minute, it's going to almost create some anxiety in you. You're not going to feel at peace. So I always tell people ask me all the time, when should I start? Start immediately. Even if your pageant is a year from now, it's better to be prepared. The worst feeling you can do is walk into a pageant feeling like you're not ready. That is the worst feeling, and that would not set you up for success. Number three is do your research on coaches. Everybody now thinks they can coach, and I'm not being ugly by saying that, but I see it so many times, and you have to make sure that you are aligning yourself with the right coach that's going to fit your child or your personality, that has the credentials, that has the titles, that has the experience behind them. And number four is I see so many people feel like they have to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on their wardrobe. You don't have to spend that kind of money, but you do have to make sure that your clothes fit the pageant system that you're competing in. What I'm seeing is some people, if you're going into a more conservative pageant system, don't dress for not that pageant system. Don't have too much revealing dresses, things like that. Line yourself up with the system, but also know the system, know what to expect from the system. And number five, don't be afraid to reach out to pageant directors. That is what they're there for. As a coach, I see this so many times. People are like, I'm so scared. I'm so scared to talk to the director. I'm like, you don't need to be afraid. That is their job to help you. And if you don't start that communication now, as a title holder, you're going to have to communicate with your director. So start that communication process soon. That director wants that from you. They want to know that people are reading their emails, that are reading the handbook, that are not afraid to speak up, not afraid to ask for advice, and to know the system. That's what they're there for. So those are my 5 tips to really being successful when you are choosing what system and getting ready for that system to compete in.
That's awesome. I love your tips. This is why you're such a great coach.
I really particularly like the one with the directors. I think some people think that there's some mythical, scary creature, but they really are your friend. They have all the information, and they're the ones that can give you the real information. Sometimes you can get from different people and it's wrong. So I think that's important to just go directly to the source. So yeah, I love that you brought that up.
Absolutely. Even not, I mean, even, yes, coaches, we do know stuff, and we can reach out to the director, and I do that quite a bit. I'm constantly like messaging these directors, but I'm just telling you, because I was a director myself for 5 years. From a director's point and knowing my directors, please go to them. That's what they're there for. And they would rather you hear it from them, because then it can trickle down and some information can get changed.
That's very true. I think the one of your tips that stood out to me is dressing appropriate for the pageant, because there are some who go into pageants from the glitz world and it's not a glitz pageant, and then they're like, why didn't I do well? Well, you did
Yeah,
your
yes,
research.
absolutely. You have to do your research on the systems.
Kind of speaking about wardrobe, I guess, in terms of dressing appropriately for like age divisions, I know sometimes junior teens and teens, it can get a little bit muddy of where the line is. And I guess it depends on, again, what you said, each system. But do you have any like standard tips for those age divisions of what they should try and maybe avoid?
Yes, to me, and I'm going to talk from a judge's point here, because I've judged for years. Of course, I can't now because I coach too much. But from a judge's point, sometimes having super, super tall, high splits, it depends on how. I've seen girls have splits all the way up to their hip bone. And so because there's some really pretty dresses out there now that do have this. I mean, I'm talking about like they go straight up to where it underneath it almost looks like a swimsuit. I know what I'm sure y'all have seen these dresses. They look like they have a swimsuit bottom and it goes all the way up to the hip. That's not appropriate for a teen. So the more, to me, is you want the judges to look at you, not a dress and then you. You want them looking at you and that you wearing that dress. And so try not to have too much revealing stuff in the junior teen division. You know, there's a time and place where that you'll have plenty of years to be able to wear splits in your dress or lower cuts here. That's what I always say. Dress appropriately. Dress how you would want everybody in your family to show up at the pageant and cheer you on, and not feel like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe she's showing so much things. So I just say, to me, modesty is better, especially for a judge. And you have to remember, you're going to be in front of some men judges, and you want to make those judges feel comfortable too, especially in the junior teen divisions, preteen divisions.
So I guess let's bring it now to the Ms. and Mrs. division. When is it too young or what is too young and not age appropriate? Because I've heard from people who have competed in the Mrs. and the Ms. where judges may have thought they dressed too young.
I think what the biggest mistake I see women make 18 and up is ball gowns. Yes, you can wear a ball gown, but it needs to be like a chiffon A-line with a split, not the poofy ball gowns. I see a lot of women wanting to do that, or they're ashamed of their bodies, because if in the married women division, a lot of us have kids and get married, and that's what happens when you get married. You get happy and you eat a lot. I mean, it all happens to us. It's just part of life.
I know.
And sometimes we think, oh my gosh, I have to have a ball gown to cover up my little, you know, that the Spanx won't hold in, but that's not necessarily true. There are so many great dresses that you can have a straight dress and put an overskirt on it. But the biggest mistake is, yes, don't wear ball gowns, in my opinion, for the Miss and up, unless it's like has a split in it and it's an A-line ball gown that flows pretty, but not a poofy ball gown.
I agree. The ball gown stays in the junior division for a reason, or for your wedding day.
Yeah. Or your wedding day when you want to be a princess. Yes.
That's exactly what I did. I never got to do the ball gown for the pageant world, so I did it on my wedding day.
You talked about being a bit of an esthetician, so that's super exciting. I know that you did. You did hair and makeup for pageants as well? Is that correct?
Yes. So I am a licensed hairdresser and esthetician, and I just dabble in. I'm so busy coaching, and that's where my heart and passion is. I will do it, but my main focus is coaching. And I don't know, I guess because I'm so picky myself about hair and makeup, and I don't know, I still get anxiety, but I love it. I'm a fan girl. There's so many of my favorite hair and makeup artists out there that I'm just in awe because of what they can create and their magic that they do. And I just think it's such an amazing industry, the pageant industry for pageant hair and makeup. But I love to keep what I love about it, that I dabble in it, is I'm able to give advice and consult my with my students and their moms on this is what hairstyle I think looks best for this type of pageant or for your daughter or for yourself. So that's where I feel like my education comes into play. And then I can make recommendations as well as who I feel like is the best fit for hair and makeup at the larger pageants for them as well.
That's awesome.
That's a very special and important tool that I think people might overlook. So that's really great. We were talking a little bit about like at pageants. So when you're a coach, what are like, I can only imagine the stress of watching your students and making sure they're on time and doing other things. What are some of the things that you do to keep yourself centered and organized throughout a pageant weekend?
I just make sure my biggest thing is keeping them in the right mindset and pumping them up and making them feel confident and not letting things shake them, because I know exactly every little detail that they're feeling and I've experienced. And my heart literally races at crowning, even when I am not physically at the pageant and I'm on edge of my seat watching, or I'm waiting for that message. I constantly are calling and checking, especially mine that are fixing to go into interview. I don't charge for that. I'm just like, hey, let me call you. Let me warm you up a little bit before you walk into that room, because I know what it feels like to not have that kind of support. And you need that support, especially the younger girls. And so I make sure that I stay mentally strong, that I don't let them see me get nervous for them. Because that's what I always want to, I tell my moms too, your children can pick up your energy. And so if you're constantly like, oh, so-and-so, you're going to be your competition today, or, oh my gosh, like, I don't like your hair and makeup. Well, that all rubs off on them, and that affects them when they get on stage. And so I'm constantly there, like pumping them up. You got this. You're beautiful. You go shine your light. Like, that's what I do at a pageant. And I guess that grounds me, knowing that I'm trying to make a big impact in them, no matter what the judges think that day. Like, I want them to know that they're always going to be my winner, and I'm always going to be proud of them, because I know what it feels like to not place when you know you should have placed, or there's politics that happen sometimes in pageantry. And I want the child to know that they did an amazing job and they deserve to be celebrated.
100%. I love that. I want to take a break with your coaching for just a second. So you are the reigning Mrs. Magnolia State 2023. And I know you were on here previously with a different title. So what are you doing differently, I guess, with this reign?
I wish I honestly could do more with this reign, but I'm working about 10 to 12 hours every day. I'm not complaining. There are some days I literally don't get to eat until 10 o'clock at night. And so I'm not able to travel the way that I did travel last year, financially and just physically. I can't. So the times that I'm able to, I'm booking myself where I'm able to handle it in my schedule. I at least try to make 4 appearances a month with my title. Last year with my international title, I was showing up every day doing something. I physically can't do that now with me working full time. So what I've had to do is kind of, and I've had that guilt on me, is like, because I'm an overachiever. I'm always been like that, and I'm like, am I doing enough? Am I going to make a lasting impression, legacy? So I've mapped it out to where I have to give myself grace and say, Brandi, I can't do what I did last year. Physically, I just can't do that this year. But what I can do is show up big. And so I'm making at least 4 appearances a month, probably more, but my goal is to do 4 appearances a month. And I did one this morning. I'm doing one today. I'm doing some this weekend. So I try to map that out and also be there as much as I can with my students. Even when I'm at these appearances, I do have students there, and I'm constantly showing up for them too with my title.
That's awesome.
That's
And so
great.
how do you then, with your busy schedule, how do you then balance being a wife and a mom? I know your son does dance, which is why we're doing this today.
Yeah.
So how do
Yes.
you balance, because I'm now in the wife mode of my life. So how do you balance being a wife and being a pageant queen as well as a coach?
I have a big planner. I live by my planner right here. My husband's amazing. I have amazing in-laws, and I homeschool. So homeschooling has been my saving grace. So when I'm coaching, literally I open that door, my son is right there doing his work. And he has been such a big help this year. I lost my mom in May. My mom lived with us for 9 years, and she helped me a lot with my son and helped me with life. And my son and I have had to, he stepped up and he said, Mommy, I got this. I can do this. And so when I'm working, I lay out all his stuff. He has snacks throughout the day. We take lunch breaks. We do all that together. So I've just learned to multitask and to map it out, as well as my husband. My husband's been a big supporter and helper, and my in-laws have stepped in anytime that I've needed them. They stepped in all last year when I was traveling. The great thing with my title, my son can come with me. He chooses not to because he's like, I don't want to go sit at a pageant all day, Mom. I'm like, well, that's fine. You can go sit with Granny today. But I do offer him that if he does want to come with me to stuff he's going to go to Europe with me too, where he's real excited about that. But my advice to women who are competing that have a title and that work full time is you have to give yourself some grace. You can't do everything for everybody all the time. So map out some self-care time, but also map out some time in your schedule, and you'll just have to multitask and know your limits. And if you can only make one appearance that month, that's okay. I think women, we put so much pressure on ourselves, but every married woman title holder I know, they can't show up every day to make an appearance. It's just not feasible. So give yourself some grace and know that you are doing the best that you can. And that people admire that about you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was great.
No,
I needed to hear that.
it's a lot of work. I mean, obviously I'm not married, but I can only imagine how much stress and scheduling and all the things that go into that. I was curious, do you use social media as kind of a way to promote your platform more globally when you don't have the physical ability to travel?
Yes. I love social media. I definitely do that for sure. I love using social media. And that's what I tell girls. Girls are like, well, I live in a small town, Brandi. How do I get out? And I teach that. I'm like, no, you have to learn how to network. And I teach them how to network that way. But I love social media. There's so many things that you can do, even if you physically cannot get out in your community. There's so many ways. And directors want women and girls and boys and men I should have pinned my crown down better, y'all, sorry, to be able to help grow their organization. And that's one of the things that I teach in my coaching classes too. But the social media is a powerful tool that you can have throughout your reign and throughout your pageant journey.
Mm-hmm. And without social media, we would have never met. We would have never had you on the show now twice. So we love social media for that.
Me too. Y'all are amazing.
You are too. Honestly, it's so great that you have been able to expand your pageant career as well as your professional career with pageantry, and it's been great being able to see it blossom, because talking about social media, you are all over Instagram, and being able to follow you and see all of the amazing things that your students are doing, it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
If anyone were interested in being coached by you, do you do coaching only in person, or do you provide virtual as well?
Actually, 90% of my students are virtual. And I took my whole life savings and built this studio, and only 10% of my students come in person, and that's fine. But 90% of my students are virtual, and I coach all around the world that way. I had my youngest is 6 months old, 6 months old. But basically, I'm coaching the mom at that point. But I coach from babies all the way up to women in their 70s and 80s. Most of it's virtual, and it's just like being in person. And I love it. And I also do monthly mock interviews for my students too, for interview. I bring in judges for that as well. And that's just something extra that I offer to constantly keep them up with what we're learning too, but also bring in outside judges to give them some feedback as well.
That's awesome. So you mentioned coaching babies. Do you ever find that when you're coaching the moms of the babies, that the moms end up catching the pageant bug as well, and they end
Oh,
up
yeah.
on stage?
Oh, yes. I'm constantly like, let's put you in a pageant, girl, because I'm constantly uplifting the mom too. And a lot of them have. And because I feel like every mom needs to experience that one time to know what it feels like for their little girl to be on that stage, because it can be overwhelming what these littles experience up there. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of stimulation up there. So, but yeah, so I try to teach from that point too, what it feels like to be on stage. So
That's
we
awesome.
have to give our littles some grace up there because they're still little, you know?
I think that's a great advice because there are some moms, and I know Liz and I have seen it in the junior division where they put a lot of pressure on the little girls. It's true, until they've been on stage themselves, it's really hard to just be like, Mom, it's okay. Just give them a little bit of a break for the
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, it's a lot to factor in, even as adults. Remember, stand up straight, make sure you're standing in your right pose, smile, look at your audience, look at your judge. It's a lot to take in. And can you imagine when you're, ages 3 to 9, what that feels like too?
I can't imagine.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
actually,
Sorry, go
it's
ahead. Go ahead.
okay. It's okay. I was gonna say it's actually been really great having you on the show, and I know you've had a very busy day. As you mentioned, you've been back to back. Um, for those who are interested in coaching, where can they find you online if where they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I'm almost finished with my website, but you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I have a business page too, but my name is Brandi Jo Middleton. You can look me up. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. My business page is Pageant Coaching and Interview Coaching by Brandi Jo. That's my business page on Facebook. But seriously, just type in my name and I'll pop up. You can also text me. I'll give you my number. It's area code 901-650-7875. Or my email is mbrandyjo@outlook.com. Just like my name, mbrandyjo@outlook.com. You can email me and I will respond right away to you.
Amazing.
Perfect.
So I know we do have a lot of viewers who come on here and always looking for coaches, and it's always great to hear different coaches styling, see different coach styling, and I think your Instagram speaks for itself with all of the amazing things that you've been doing. Before we let you go, though, Brandi Jo, is there any last words of advice or anything that you would like to share with our viewers?
Yes, I just want you all to know that you are more than just a crown. And don't ever go into a pageant thinking that if I don't win the crown, that I'm not worthy. That is not true. What is meant for you will never pass you by ever. And so sometimes you can put your heart and soul into a system and walk away and not get what you want, but God's got something bigger for you. And it might not be a physical crown, but it's going to be a crown in here. It could be a relationship, it could be a new business partner. You never know who's God's going to line up in your path for a certain place, a time, and a reason. So your worth is not wrapped up into a crown, because these only last for a year, y'all. My International United Miss crown is my favorite crown, and it's sitting over there. And I have such amazing memories, but I'm more than just that crown. I'm more than this crown. I'm Brandi. And so that's what I want everybody to know. Even when your title is over, you are still you, and you are still powerful, and you're still magical. And you have so many gifts to offer the world. And because on that particular day, those panel of judges did not pick you, does not mean that you are not an amazing queen and can do amazing things with or without that crown, and you can make a huge difference in your life. But I still want you to go after your goals, and I want you to go after the crown of your dreams, but know that you are so much more than what is on your head.
I love that. And I guess, do you have any last words or any advice for those who are ending the era of their reign? Any advice on post pageant blues? Let's call them.
Know that what you're feeling is normal. We've all went through it. We've all went through the grieving process of it, and that you're beautiful and you're going to be amazing. And you don't have to necessarily wear that crown every day anymore. You can look at it, you can put it on at your house, but you can still continue to do your platform work. You can still continue to get out in your community and make a big difference. And don't be afraid to sign back up for another system. If you want to compete at another pageant, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You never know what God has in store for you. And maybe it's time for you to start your own system, or to branch out and do something in the pageant industry, or do something in your business or in your community. So don't be afraid to start back over as soon as you pass on your crown to your successor.
I love that. I should have called you when my reign was over.
I've been through it too. I was like, oh my gosh, what am
Mhm.
I going to do?
That was
Yeah.
literally me, like a few months ago. Ask Liz. I was like, Liz, what do I
Oh,
do
I
now?
remember. I remember. Yeah, it's good advice though. It's important. There's so many pageants out there. There's so many opportunities, and even outside of pageants, there's a whole world out there to
Mhm.
experience. So just
Absolutely.
embrace everything. Yeah, I love
Mhm.
it.
Me too. Well,
Mhm.
before we go, I guess Liz, for people, or where can people, sorry, find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Elizabeth Marnock Artistry for my hair and makeup services for pageants. You can find me on Facebook at Elizabeth Marnock. That's where I post literally all my things. You can follow my personal Instagram if you'd like at liz.marnock. And yeah, if you're Canadian, and you're looking for a new pageant system to join, check out Canadian National Miss. We are having our nationals at the end of August in Mississauga, Ontario. Feel free to reach out to me for any information on that. How about you, Regine?
You guys can find me here on this YouTube channel. So if you've enjoyed today's episode and enjoy all of our pageant episodes or pageant sit down episodes, sorry, feel free to subscribe to this channel first off and like this video and show Brandi Jo some love. If you want to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, it's Regina Lena. I post mostly on Instagram, but you can find me everywhere else. Brandi, it has been an amazing evening getting to talk to you and catching up with you. And I love that you wore the color of the show. Pink is my favorite color. I should have matched you, but you matched our stage, really.
Oh, that's awesome. I love pink too. It's my favorite color too.
Well, yeah, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know we've had some viewers. Actually, I didn't even check our chats to see if there was any chats coming through. But if you are watching, thank you for joining us. If you're watching it after our live and the replay, thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video as mentioned. Again, Brandi, thank you so much for joining us. It's always such a pleasure to see and hear your stories. I forgot that you were on Toddlers and Tiaras as a coach, and you brought it up again. I was like, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I love
So thank you so much for
Oh, thank you.
inspiring everyone, really.
Thank you. It's such an
it.
honor to be on this show and to see y'all again. And hopefully I'll get to see y'all soon in person, maybe one day at a pageant. So
Yeah, that'd
Absolutely,
be
yes.
great. Hopefully we'll see each other on the other side of this pageant world, not in the virtual aspect of it. Um, we'll see you all soon. We'll actually see you all in 2 weeks. And until then, have a great day, everyone, and stay safe. Bye.
Bye.